Kate joins us from Elysian Services. They are your HR wing women. Um, what is Elysian Services? That's a great name, Kate. Just before we kick into today's team talk, where did that come from?
So it is Greek. So a lot of my background, I spent a lot of time traveling in Greece. Solo travels, I tend to just head over to Greece, and it means happy and blissful. Obviously, in an ideal world, that's how everyone will feel once they've used our services. But it's individual, and I've called it services because it would be nice to have that as kind of the company that I trade from, and then I can do different things underneath.
Excellent.
So yeah, that's me, Elysian. Well, me and Carla. I've got a consultant as well, so the pair of us are wing women for you all.
Fantastic. That's probably an amazingly bad segue into what we're talking about today, which is kind of bad or lazy management. Yeah.
Lazy management grinds my gears.
So
Grinds my gears.
You've seen a lot of this in your career. What do you notice? What are the first signs?
So for me personally, when I was an employee, I had really poor managers. So I guess that's the first stage. When I became then external HR and started a business, I always have that to underpin what I'm doing when I'm advising my clients. I had a horrendous manager. I mean, if I'm looking back at 22, they were bullying me. I should have done something about it. But at the time, you're scared, you want to keep your job. The first signs for me were the anxiety the night before. When you start school when you're younger and the Sunday night you get the jitters.
Okay.
You shouldn't be feeling that way when you're working for an employer. So that would be the first port of call, I guess. From a business perspective, it can show in an array of signs. So you'll have absence. You might have people who are playing up. You may get to the point where you have complaints coming in from email. You never want to get to that point. But it's not always the manager's fault. And I did a video on this recently, and I don't know why businesses are just employing people to become managers. They're promoting them from within with no support. They're not looking at what the new role entails versus the old role. So an example of that is if you're putting someone in a role, you only do that when you've got someone that's moving up. And this is why we do succession planning. And it's something that Carla and I do a lot of.
Yeah.
Because if you're not succession planning, you haven't got anyone to slot into that. So you end up with a manager doing this role that's new, and then they're still doing their old role as well, which is, it's not fair on them. And managing humans is hard. It's not easy. I don't know how I've done it for 15 years. It is tough. And I think if you just put anyone in a position and expect them to just go and be good at it, you're a coach, you're coaching them in their role, you're protecting them in some ways as well. If your team makes a mistake, it's not their mistake, it's your mistake. They're all different things that underpin being a manager.
So if you've got managers within, let's say I'm a business owner, I've got a bunch of managers within my business. I guess part of what you're saying, part of it is my responsibility to make sure that they are equipped to be a great manager, and part of it's their responsibility.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Beyond succession planning, what else can I do as the business owner to make sure I'm breeding the right kind of manager?
So I think that goes into that, yeah, but it goes into a lot wider. Yeah, it's just easy. Just do these three things. Yeah. I think it starts so I like to call it from seed. So from your documentation when you're recruiting, how do you look in the market? So how are you presenting yourself as a business in the market? That gets you the right attraction from candidates. That's the very first step. Because once they're in the door, they're in the door. So from seed is the most important thing, building from the ground upwards. Once you've got people in place, it's leaning on their strengths. Not everybody learns the same way. Not everybody has the same skill set, and not everyone enjoys what they do. You know, there are parts of our businesses that we absolutely despise doing, but you have to do them. But it's making, I guess it's making it not more exciting, because there are just some things that just aren't fun at all. But it's making a team that almost like a yin and yang team. So personality profiling tests are brilliant to do when you start to get even your first 1 or 2 employees. It literally starts from the get-go. You need somebody, you know, who's good with the attention to detail. You need the creative thinker. You need somebody who will almost have the autonomy and lead a little bit without even knowing they're doing it. And these are just without having a manager, these are just your core team traits. Belbin's role models is a very good model to look at. Indeed, and he put together this this model, I guess, and it basically goes through which each team member is. It's really insightful, and it's really interesting to have a look and see where your teams lay. But we do a lot of that. I think with business owners, they're very entrepreneurial, and that means you're very creative. So you're like, oh, brilliant, I'm going to get this human and that human, and the nuts and bolts they're not interested in, and they shouldn't have to be. That's why you get levels in your business and levels within your teams and departments to make sure that the cogs run themselves, and then you're left to do the creative fun stuff.
Yeah, because it's very easy, isn't it, for that kind of person just to recruit somebody that's like them. Whereas in reality,
really good point. Yeah,
they probably need a complement of other personality traits and skills.
Yeah, I would be awful. I wouldn't employ me to be one of my employees, because I am a big thinker. And I've kind of honed my skills into what I need them to do to run my business. And then I've got Carla, who is fantastic. She is my attention to detail girl. She goes through employment law. She does all the things that I'm not very good at. And that was a purposeful recruit to make sure that we are the yin and yang, because another one of me, I wouldn't have a business.
Thank you for being so honest. I love it, Kate.
Authenticity, it's so important.
So what? So give us. You'll have seen, no need to name any names, but you'll have seen some stuff from your experience that I'm sure others can learn from hindsight. And I'm really looking for tips that other leaders, other managers can take and go, oh wow, I didn't even realise I was doing that. What can you share, Kate?
I've got lots. I'll keep them low. I've got lots. I've got a plethora of top tips. It's funny. My skill is advising other business owners. Do I do a lot of this myself? Do I heck? So the first one would be, I think when I've gone into businesses and I've seen the leaders, as it were, is relinquishing control is a really tough thing. You know, I say it a lot. It's on my website. Your business is literally your baby. And now I've got my own business. I see how difficult it can be to relinquish the control. You know, trusting somebody to run an area of your business is really, really hard. And again, it comes back to the recruitment piece, the seed, the culture, is that you're hiring trust. You're not hiring humans, you're hiring trust. So they are, they're taking over an area, and you're relying on them 100% to look after that area. So I'd say work on your own trust levels and try not to micromanage would be the first thing that is really important. And the second thing is have a versatile working document that is your business plan. I have gone into businesses where they haven't had a plan at all. So by that, I mean budgets, accounts, humans, you know, and then underpin that by your policies, your documentation, then underpin that by your marketing. And I don't mean your social media or your website or your branding. I mean how you appear in the market. Because if you appear well in the market, you get the best candidates and you get the best clients.
I think people know what a business plan is. When you say work on your trust, that's really interesting. I'm a firm believer that trust is the absolute foundation of any effective team. Um, but how? What does that look like, working on your trust as a leader?
So if you're putting someone in a position, say, so let's do an example. We've got clients with 250 employees and we've got clients with 30. Some have got 5. It doesn't matter the industry, the size you are. If you are putting people in the positions, giving them the work to do, and then constantly checking up on them, making sure they're doing what they're doing, checking in too frequently, what you're actually doing is you're becoming an enabler of the distrust. So you are making it really clear to them that you have put them in this role, but actually I'm still going to oversee everything. Imagine having someone CEO or director or MD over your shoulder the whole time. So give the people the work to let them demonstrate to you that they know what they're doing. If you're giving them the work and then before a deadline, you're chasing up, checking in on them, that's the most demotivating thing you could do as a business owner to your team.
And it plays out in tiny ways as well. I see this quite a lot, almost in the sense of it could be as simple as business owner running 1,000,000 miles an hour, the employee just thinking a little slower, being a slightly different, not in terms of intelligence, but just in terms of speed.
Yeah.
And literally, they don't let them share what they're gonna share. They will jump in, finish the sentence, and the level of motivation, the ability for that person to learn is just lost, isn't it?
Active listening is so important. I really have to work on this. I'm actually not that great with constant eye contact as well. I find it quite awkward. I am quite an awkward human being. It's so nice to talk to you, James. I do find it tough, and I think a lot of people are a bit neurospicy who tend to be entrepreneurs. I'm like 3/4 of the way through an ADHD assessment, and they are quite spicy, and it makes you amazing. If anyone needs a research project, I will uncover stones to get stuff for you that you need. But then as a business owner, it doesn't help you. You have to be able to actively listen. Otherwise, people, and I've worked on this over the last 2 years, I see people waiting for someone to stop to put their opinion in. It's not because they're being rude, it's because they're worried they'll forget. Okay. And you're almost sitting there waiting for that person to finish.
Perfect. So you're working on active listening at the moment.
I am.
I was with a client the other day. We've done a lot of feedback. I asked them to pick out one thing that was the thing that stood out that they were going to work on first. That thing was better listening. So, but with that client in mind and everyone else, you've got through this. What are your tips on the active listening? What's your journey? What have you learned?
And that I obviously need to work. Well, actually, I think I've got a lot better. I've learned that it's okay to be yourself, but actually, as a business wanting clients, what you have to say actually isn't important. What they've got to say is more important. You're solving a problem, but if you don't listen to their problems fully, how will you solve them? And you will demotivate and you will completely disengage that person when you first met them and gone into whether it's a one-to-one, a pitch, they're a warm lead, they've come to you via referral. Your first impression, you know the saying, you don't get a second chance at a first impression.
Absolutely.
It's so true. And I think, you're, as business owners, you're not important. They're the ones that are important. You leave your ego at the door. What you have to say, unless it's about their business, they don't care. They don't care how long you've had your business. They don't need to know that. They don't care, how many staff you've got or, that I've got a new office. That doesn't interest them, and it shouldn't have to. And you don't need to talk to them about that. What you need to do is, I ask 3 main questions. Why did you start your business? What do you love about your business? And what do you hate about your business?
Yeah. And then you shut up. Just listen.
See? Did you see my active listening?
Yeah. It's almost,
and then that's it, and you just let them talk. It's not about us as business owners, it's about them. It should always be about them. And if it's not about them, then your business is upside down.
Absolutely. So you're kind of playing what I call this is not at UK, you're playing what I call the dumb elephant. So 2 massive ears and quiet.
What are you trying to say about my ears, James?
They're lovely. Is there anything else that you do to demonstrate to the person that you're actually listening?
Notes are a really good way. I know some people aren't note takers and they have amazing brains, and I wish I was them. I have to take notes, but a lot of people will just retain that information. But I think, you need to get people having buy-in. They need to buy in that you're interested in them. And I think even if you just make some BS notes, make it look like you're genuinely interested in what they're doing. And I think a follow-up is very good. So straight away after a meeting, I will send the email and summarise what we've talked about. Because not only is that good to demonstrate you listened, you're kind of that next step into looking at working together. Oh, they listened, or they're obviously keen, they haven't left it a week. And it's not about sales, it's not about marketing, it's about genuinely wanting to make sure that you're making their business better. That's why I do what I do, because I can improve people's profit. We can make their people better. You can go in and you can be amazing and you can coach at every level. And why do you do that? Because you can make people better at what they do. You can pull their skill sets out, and as a team, like, cohesively make sure that they perform better. That's why we do what we do.
And do you tell people you're going to do that?
Business better.
No, in terms of your follow-up, in terms of going back to them and following up and demonstrating you've listened. Do you tell them?
No, don't tell. No, sometimes I'll say I will speak later in the week, and they'll ask for a call. I will always, from scratch, I've just always done it, even when I was employed. I will send an email summary of what we discussed. Because then it's in writing, not as in cover your bum. It's in writing, as in it's very easy to then turn the page in that notebook that you've just taken notes on and completely forget. But it just means in your inbox, everything's there. So when they say, oh, do you remember, what point was it that we discussed after we'd had lunch or whatever? You're like, I'll just see the summary email. It's just I think it's just a nice way to close the process after having a one-to-one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most of my inbox are pinned one-to-ones, so then at the top, when I'm then having a call, I just click on it and I've got it to refer to on the phone call.
Great. So let's flip it the other way. So your worst experience sitting in front of a leader or a manager that's clearly not listening to you. What does that look like? What can we learn from that?
I mean, I'm no shrinking violet, as much So if I'm with so internally, if I was with somebody and they're talking, and then actually I'm talking and they're not listening, quite a lot of the times I just stop talking and wait for them to either catch up, do what they're doing. I've had someone pick up their phone and start doing a text in the middle of talking. Like that is not okay. And I will say to somebody, oh, you're right, do you need to get that? Because it's just really rude. I wouldn't do it. If I'm in a meeting and my phone rings, I silence it and I put my phone face down. So it's clear, you've got my undivided attention. This meeting's about you. This person doesn't matter. It's really important. But yeah, I guess I've worked in so many industries where I've had to put up with kind of, I guess, people being rude. Business owners are very busy and it's different. If they need to get the phone, 100%, you do you, boo. But when we're having an actual conversation and managers or directors within
Hang on, why? Because, that business leader can still come across as rude and not giving you 100% if they...
But business leaders are busy. Look how busy, we don't stop. So I think if I'm in a meeting with a business leader, I've never had it where I've had to say, can you stop answering your phone? 9 times out of 10, people will say, do you mind if I get this? And I will always say, absolutely not. If they look concerned when they look at their screen and then they still put it down, I will always say, it's honestly okay if you need to get that.
Yeah, fair enough. You're giving them permission, yeah.
Absolutely. We're all busy. We're not back in, even before COVID, where it was like we must sit and all be in a meeting room and we have to do this. We're a lot more malleable now. We can chat, do an email, sit like this and have a podcast, online. We don't all have to be in the same meeting room. So we have got ways of working that are a bit more flexible. But there's flexible and there's rude.
Yeah, and there's when we're talking kind of motivation, imagine if you know that your boss or the leader of the business is really busy, and they do actually go that extra mile, if you like, to be 100% present, put their phone down, you're going to feel so much better, aren't you? So much more important.
Yeah, winning. If we're talking, let's say 50 plus and under, business owners should be making an effort if they have an office to, go in once a week, even if it's for an hour and just walk around. I mean, somebody told me something once that stuck to me. Stuck to me? It's not stuck to me at all. It stuck with me. I just walked around with a post-it on my arm. My sandwich board that I wear with me with my top tips of the day. He said, learn one fact about everybody in your business and you will never have to worry again. Because if I know the name of your dog, somebody's, child's name, the football team you support, even if you as a business owner and go, oh, how did, Tottenham do at the weekend? Cool, that was a bit tough. That person goes, oh my God, we had that chat 4 years ago. How do they remember that? Instant engagement.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, just one thing to know your team.
One fact, one person.
Lovely tip. What other bad management practices are we going to just expose and get on the table today, Kate?
Emailing your team member from across the room. Do not do this. If you don't have 10 seconds to walk over to a member of your team to ask them something, you shouldn't have a team. And I'm brutal with that one.
I can't believe that happens, but
You better believe. I had to have a meeting once with a manager and the team. 2 of the 6 of the team had emailed kind of the senior level manager to say, look, we're just not happy with how our manager is managing us. It goes a really long way. There are so many different things with managers. It's not that difficult, but actually if you haven't done it before, manage humans, it can be quite tricky. And there are very easy, quick wins. It's the listening, it's the trusting, and it's the communication. So listening kind of falls under that, but also it's your tone. Are you having weekly check-ins? So I prefer, when I had a team of 7, I had a Monday morning and a Friday afternoon. The Monday morning focused, what's everyone doing? As a business, this is what we need. As a manager, this is what I need. What do you need? Ask the questions. What do you need from me as a team this week? And then Fridays, we smashed this week. This was great. Let's improve on X, Y, and Z. And here's some donuts. Win-win.
Nice. Donuts. That's all I heard.
Yeah, I thought so.
but fantastic. And I think that actually reminds me in terms of when you say communication, because I think one of the common areas that I find is that busy people, some of them are actually almost think they can't keep up with their own thinking, if you know what I mean. And they find it quite difficult or not natural to give really good, clear instructions to other people. And by virtue of that, they assume a whole load of stuff.
Well, we know what they say about assumptions, don't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that falls under the communication bracket. I think if someone is struggling with how to speak to their team. This is where it goes back to what I said about when you're looking at promoting somebody, you need to give them coaching. There needs to be some form of training. So in accountancy land, you've got trainee, you've got assistants, you've got semi-auditors, all the way up. Okay, it goes all the way up to, you've got tax, you've got the trainee level, then you've got advisory, to end up with director. If you just keep promoting someone, but you're not giving them skills to be able to fulfill your role, you're setting them up to fail. And I think businesses think, oh, well, I don't know, Tom's been here 10 years. Tom might have been here 10 years, but Tom might have been a trainee for 3. He might have been a semi-senior for 2. Then he's a senior for another year. Then he's assistant manager, for example. So he's still not manager. Then he's finally manager. That could take 10 years. So just because he's been there 10 years doesn't mean he knows how to run a team. You're looking at KPIs. You're looking at their output as a cohort. You're having to report back to the person that's above you. That stuff doesn't come easily and naturally to everybody. Yeah, and this is even before we've got onto a diverse workforce.
Yeah, because with the lack of any training, even if that is reading a few good books, then I guess your default is to look at the role model that you might have. So it could be the person above you, or it could be a boss you've had in the past.
Yeah.
And they may be great, and they might not be.
It tends to be, unfortunately, if companies aren't, which I know they aren't, if they're not equipping new managers properly, what they've just done to Tom, they already did to Linda, 10 years ago. And she's just learnt from who's above her, and if that happens to be the CEO, who is a creative, entrepreneurial thinker, they'll be barking orders at people, not in a shouty way, but in a, oh, can we get this done? Oh, I've got an idea for this. That's too much to keep up with. That's what I'm like. I'm very aware of it as well. I'm like, oh, I've got an idea, Carla. And then now I go, right, put all the ideas down on paper. And then when we have our Friday and Monday calls, we'll go through them then. So I'm not overwhelming other people. Perfect.
And I deal with this with teams all the time, but how would you do it differently rather than just promoting some because they've been there 10 years with no training? What's a better practice?
You need to look at your structure. So this all comes down to your business structure and your business plan. And that's why it's so important. It's a cohesive part of growing a business. If you have your structure, you know how many people you'll have. If you know how many people you have, you know your budget. If you know your budget, you'll know how many people you can then promote. If you know about the promotions, you'll then know about the training, because you should have that in your budget. So it all lines up nicely. So you should know from the start, so from startups getting their first employee to larger corporates, non-corporates, not-for-profit, you should have an idea of where you want the business to be, and then you work out where you want the people to be. So you can pre-plan. I like shadowing. So if an assistant manager wants to become a manager, let them shadow the manager, let them hold some of the management team meetings, let them look at how the stats work, let them sit in high level meetings. Don't expect someone to just move in. I mean, when I worked at internally, won't say any names, but when I worked there, what I loved that they did was they said the person who's going to be promoted, they should be doing the job a year before they're even promoted. But if you're not telling them what they need to do a year before, it makes no sense to me.
For the right people, though, it also serves as motivation, doesn't it? Because you're giving them the things they need to work on, the behaviours they need to demonstrate in order to be successful in that position when they get to that point. Yeah.
That's why an org chart's good. A lot of people go, oh, what do we need one for? But actually what you're demonstrating is that you have a workforce that flows, that can adapt, that is agile, that learn, It's so much more than just having a chart. It's demonstrative of, I guess, internal successes. It's not about the business and all that. It's about going, oh, they used to start down here, and now suddenly they're a director that sit under the CEO.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's sometimes useful to look at them in the future, isn't it? So, well, what does your org chart look like in 5 years' time?
Yeah, absolutely. I like a 3 year because a lot changes in 5. I like a 1, 2, and 3 year. A lot of people go, where do you want to be in 5 years? I never ask that question in interviews. It literally makes me want to staple my eyelids together.
Okay, well, I'll scrap that question.
Yeah, you'll get nothing. You'll get my active listening as I pick up the tumbleweed.
That's fantastic. What is one other major bad lazy management habit you wanted to highlight?
Pretending to be a nice, engaging manager that does nice things. So, an example, I let my team go home 5 minutes early on Friday. I brought some donuts in once a week. It's okay, my guys know that I'm flexible and I'm a good manager because, I let them leave for an appointment. Well, you should do that anyway. Managers that are pretending to care about their teams by doing the smallest amount of things, that those things don't make a difference to people. But what does is they need to be approachable. So can I go to my manager if I'm worried about something, or are they the type of manager that runs off to the boss? Are they confidential? Are they putting their team first? Are they identifying the strengths of their team and using it? Are they, when they're clearly, if there's absence issues and they're struggling, rather than going, here's an absence policy, are they sitting down and going, are you okay? Is there something going on at home? Are you all right? Do you want to talk to me? That is the makings of a manager. And that's what's important.
Let's say you were advising a brand new manager. What do they do to be accessible? For someone like you, it's going to come completely naturally. Let's say for this individual, being accessible is not a natural thing. What's your advice?
Try and learn. So not try and learn, try and learn. So try what comes naturally to you first, because that might be enough. And if it isn't enough, that's when you underpin it with the coaching side that HR and business consultants can do. You can sit and go through various ways that they can, I guess, look more approachable. Hand and body movements and how we sit. If you're wanting to go into a meeting, maybe someone sits like this comfortably, but are they going to want to open up about, I don't know, something bad's happened in my home life, and I'm asked my manager for a meeting, and I walk into the room and they're like this. Body language is massive, and I think the main thing I would say is relax with it. Everyone is human, and if you are a new manager, your team will know you're a new manager, and they shouldn't expect you to suddenly know everything like that. So take your time. What works, what doesn't work, make notes.
Absolutely, man. I come across this a lot. I call it the kind of almost superhero syndrome. So you've got a brand new manager, and they kind of feel like they have to know everything and
change everything.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day, was it, Mr. Gentle?
It wasn't, and I think almost just by putting a few more questions into their world, they can start to change that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I guess that's what I would say to people. Just ask people a few more questions. And if you know the answer to something, then be quiet about the answer, because you want them to come to the conclusion.
That comes back to culture as well, though, doesn't it? We should be encouraging everyone to be inquisitive. Everyone should know that if they ask a question, no one's going to go, that comes back to the culture again, which comes back to how and who are you hiring.
Absolutely. You've got it all starts there, doesn't it? In terms of
it does.
having having the right people on the bus.
Yeah, it does. I mean, obviously, I have a lot of experience with also people are working. It's not always a manager or an organisation's fault. Sometimes the person just isn't the right fit. You know, personality comes a lot into it. Sometimes you think that you want to do a role, and actually, when you get there, it's not for you. You know, managers eventually should be able to spot the signs for that. They should be able to identify somebody who's demotivated, and it's nothing to do with the manager or the business. It just isn't the right environment for them. I had 6 of those conversations last week alone with my clients. It's very easy to do. It just has to be managed carefully, and that's something we do. Or I would talk to the manager and coach them to do it, because sometimes it's you want to be pushed, but you want to be pushed out in the right way. You don't, you're worried to resign. You're not quite sure what to do. You can't have days off sick. It's a really horrible place to be for someone who knows they're not enjoying it and they've made a mistake. It's all right to make mistakes. I've worked at places for a week and gone, this is not for me.
Absolutely. So I'm not going to ask you what you do, because that's going to depend highly on the situation. But
it does, and that would give my secrets away.
What do you look out for, though?
If I'm the manager, spotting the sign.
Yes.
So you either get the disruptor up here, or you get the completely gone quiet, isn't engaging in usual team meetings. Even like, oh, morning, how are you? So you've got 2 ends of the spectrum. The disruptor will clearly be like, oh, not listening in meetings. The quiet person, head down, maybe making notes, not engaging. It's always, what did everyone get up to at the weekend, and they don't respond. Either of those is a massive sign. In worst cases, you'll have people who are off sick and ringing in. Right. You'll have other cases. So if they're a hybrid business, and when you call, if you're a manager and you call for a catch up on the phone, if they don't answer, sometimes they're like, oh God, I've got the anxieties there. I don't want to answer. So they have to build themselves up and then they'll ring back. That is a very subtle but obvious sign a lot of the time. And then others could be team events. When you go out for a team event, and you're constantly asking this person, or it might be the pub on a Friday, and they're constantly saying no. There's a reason for that.
And let's take that quiet person, because it could be, I don't know, it could be that something's happened in their life, or it could be that they have silently resigned, or whatever the appropriate term is.
Oh no, we don't do those. Quiet quitting. Oh,
quiet quitting.
The phrases that come out, I think you're making a phrase about something that we shouldn't be. It shouldn't even get to the point where someone's quiet quitting. Like, it's really bad that we got to the point where that was a thing. It shouldn't even get to the point where we've made a phrase about it. As businesses, we should know if people are not enjoying what they're doing, because you just have 10-minute chats with your humans every week.
Yeah, I guess that's your point. You before you label them, before you make any, just have a chat with them.
They're just humans. And like, the annual appraisal process is dead to me. It just doesn't. I don't know why you do it. And we're like, oh, well, build up to this annual appraisal, and then, we're going to file it, and then we're not going to look at it for another year.
Yeah, great. I've been hearing a lot on that recently.
Yeah. It's not okay. I don't know why people are still doing it. I mean, I advise everyone to just scrap it and start again. It should be, you could have a semi-formal, and by formal, I mean that you've put it in the diary every month. Probation is different. So this is the annual process I'm talking about. In probation, it should be weekly and monthly. But appraisals, to look at someone overall, even the word appraisal is just...
That sends people shivering, doesn't it?
You're not appraising them. You are chatting with them. You are wanting suggestions on how you can do things better as a team. You're giving them suggestions on things that they could adopt or practices they could change to be better in their roles. You're not appraising each other. You're having a one-to-one.
Yeah.
Your idea sharing.
Yeah, regular conversations to help them learn and grow and improve.
Having a chat. Let's call it a semi-formal chat. But let's not do it annually.
I'm with you on that one, totally. The other end of the spectrum you mentioned there was the disruptor. Yeah, how do you start dealing with them?
You have a conversation with them. You have to, again, you should already know before they get to the point of disrupting. But if you haven't, and maybe we know there are companies who aren't adopting an approach where their managers are told to just check in. It should come naturally, almost like you would with your friends, but on a different level. Yeah. You know, you should know what they're up to, what their day looks like, what's going on in their life. But again, a disruptor, you would start to see the signs build up. You know, maybe sarcasm in meetings when you've got an open forum, email tone, you can tell sometimes as well. Toxicity, kind of seeping out. Are they being a bit more negative? Are they being openly negative so the other members of the team can hear? Are there water fountains? Yeah.
And for a new manager, quite difficult to deal with because they can almost be putting the manager down, can't they?
Yeah, being a new manager is really tough, and that's why it's so important that the team have the buy-in as well. So when they're looking to promote or externally hire, get that team involved. Get them involved in the hiring process. You know, they should have one interview to start off with, and the second one straight in meet the team. Yeah, best way to see whether they'll click.
Yeah, and if you have got really solid cultural values and norms and behaviours, then you've also got the whole team is then responsible for helping that person stick to the behaviours, shall we say, rather than just the manager feeling that they're it's a one-on-one fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, behaviours and values is a whole other chat. We should definitely do another one of these. I've got a plethora.
We'll come back for behaviour.
We should just have a Kate and James monthly thing. We can just share our wisdom with everyone and make people laugh.
Perfect. You'll definitely be invited back, Kate. Thank you for sharing so many tips with new managers, leaders today. Before you go though, because I'm a big advocate of learning and development. It's all right. It's not a question about listening. You're okay. What have you got a book recommendation for leaders?
Always, You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero.
Okay, sorry.
Literally, it does what it says on the tin.
You are a badass. Okay.
Yeah, Jen Sincero.
I've not read that one. I will check that out myself.
I'll send you the link. It's Sincero. Yeah, it's brilliant. There are days when even the best leaders feel rubbish, and it doesn't actually matter if you're a leader. Anyone, it's tough. Running a business is tough, and when you've got humans, it's even harder because you're responsible for making sure they get paid every month. Yeah, You Are a Badass. Read it, take it in.
And if you're watching this and you think, oh my God, I just must speak to Kate about something, what's the best way to reach out to you?
I'm all over everything. So website, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp now. We've got live chat, WhatsApp on website.
Oh, perfect. So really easy to find.
Yeah, literally just go on. And it's Elysian, Elysian, because even in a rush, sometimes I spell it wrongly.
Okay. Thank you. Lovely. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you.